Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll show you how to add a 3D model inside your React.js project using React 3 Fiber, the most powerful 3D rendering library for React. If you've ever wanted to make your website look more interactive or futuristic, then this video is definitely for you. First, we'll open the command prompt and create a new React project. This will be the base for our application where we'll later add our 3D model. Once the project is created, we'll open it in our code editor and start setting up everything step by step. Alright, our project has been created and it's running successfully. You can see the default React page appearing in the browser, which means everything is set up perfectly. Now let's open our project in Visual Studio Code so we can start working on it. Once it's open, we'll be able to access all the files and begin setting up everything for our 3D model integration. Now we're going to integrate Tailwind CSS into our project to make the design look clean and modern. Tailwind will help us style our components quickly with responsive and professional-looking layouts. Once it's set up, we'll be able to use its utility classes to style our 3D section and the overall UI easily. Now we'll write a simple piece of React code just to make sure everything is working properly. This helps us confirm that our setup is perfect before we start adding any 3D elements or extra features. Once the code runs without any issues, we'll move ahead to integrate our 3D model. Perfect. Our project is running successfully, and everything looks good so far. Now it's time for the most exciting part, adding our 3D model into the React application. We'll be using React 3 Fiber to load and display the model directly inside our UI. So let's go ahead and start setting it up. Now let's install the packages we need for adding 3D elements. I'm running the command npm i3 at react3/fiber at react3/Drei. This will install all the necessary libraries to render and control 3D models inside our React app. Next, we're going to Sketchfab to get a 3D model for our project. You can choose any model you like, but make sure to download it in GLTF or GLB format, which works perfectly with React 3 Fiber. Once the model is downloaded, we'll add it to our project and render it inside our React app. Now we'll download the 3D model in GLTF format. This format is lightweight and fully compatible with React 3 Fiber, making it easy to import and display in our project. Once the download is complete, we can move the file into our project folder and get ready to render it. After downloading the 3D model, the file usually comes in a compressed folder. So the next step is to extract the folder to access the GLTF or GLB file and any related textures. Now that we have the extracted files, we'll copy the GLTF model and its related texture files into our project's public folder. Placing them here makes it easy to access and load the model directly in our React app. Once they're in the public folder, we're ready to start rendering the 3D model. Next, we'll rename both files to 3D model to keep things simple and organized. This makes it easier to reference them in our code and avoids any confusion with long or complicated file names. After renaming the files, we need to update the URI property inside the 3dmodel.gltf file to match the new file name. This ensures that the model correctly references its textures and other related files. Now we're going to convert our GLTF model into a React component using gltfjsx. I'm running the command npx gltfjsx 3dmodel.gltf. This will automatically generate a reusable React component from the 3D model, making it super easy to import and render inside our project. After generating the JSX file from our GLTF model, the next step is to set it as the default export. This allows us to easily import the 3D model component anywhere in our React project. With the default export set, we're ready to bring the model into our canvas and start rendering it. Now it's time to write the code that will actually display our 3D model on the website. We'll use the canvas from React 3 Fiber and import our 3D model component to render it in the scene. Here we're adding the canvas component to our React app with a custom size of 500 by 500 pixels. We're also setting up the camera position so it's angled perfectly to view our 3D model in the scene. This canvas will act as the container for our model, lights, and any controls we add next. Here we're adding an ambient light to the scene with full intensity. Ambient light provides even, global illumination, so our 3D model is visible from all angles without harsh shadows. This helps make the model look bright and clear inside the canvas. Now we're adding a directional light to the scene and positioning it at 2, 2, 2. This type of light simulates sunlight, casting shadows, and giving the model more depth and realism. Setting a higher intensity ensures our 3D model is well lit and looks vibrant in the canvas. Here we're adding orbit controls to the scene. This allows us to rotate, pan, and zoom around the 3D model directly in the browser. With orbit controls, users can interact with the model and view it from different angles, making the experience more dynamic and engaging. Here we're wrapping our 3D model inside suspense with a fallback set to null. This ensures that while the model is loading, nothing breaks the app, and the component will render smoothly once the model is fully loaded. It's a simple way to handle asynchronous loading for 3D assets in React. Now it's time to import our 3D model into the React project from the public folder. By importing it, we can use it as a component inside the canvas and render it directly on the website. Once imported, we'll place it inside the scene so it's ready for display and interaction. And just like that, we've successfully added our 3D model to the website. You can see it rendered beautifully in the browser, fully interactive with rotation, zoom, and lighting. This makes our UI more dynamic and visually engaging, and now we're ready to explore more 3D features or add additional models. That's it for today's tutorial. We successfully created a React project, set up Tailwind CSS, integrated React 3 Fiber, and added our 3D model to the website. You now have a fully interactive 3D scene in your React app. If you found this video helpful, Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more tutorials. Drop a comment below if you have any questions or ideas for future 3D projects. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.